At 2:10 p.m. on the 5th of December 1945, 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers lift off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station in perfect formation. The weather is clear. The pilots are trained. The mission is routine. By 4 p.m., the lead pilot radios back something that will echo through history. "We cannot be sure of any direction. Everything looks strange. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." They are never seen again. All 5 planes, 14 men, gone. What did they see out there? The year is 1945. World War II has just ended. The United States Navy is at the peak of its power, the most technologically advanced military force on Earth. Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station is a hub of activity, processing thousands of training flights a month with military precision. The Grumman TBF Avenger is one of the most reliable aircraft the Navy flies. Built to survive combat over the Pacific, it is rugged, stable, and well-tested. These are not experimental machines. They are proven war horses. The exercise scheduled for December 5 is designated Navigation Training Flight 19, a standard overwater navigation drill, 3 legs, 320 miles total. Practiced by dozens of crews every week without incident. No one treats it as anything other than a Tuesday afternoon. The man in command, Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, is 28 years old and has logged over 2,500 flight hours. He is experienced, decorated, and trusted. He is also assigned to lead Flight 19 as a last-minute replacement. The original instructor requested the day off. Taylor knows the Avenger. He has flown combat missions in the Pacific, but he has very little experience flying out of Fort Lauderdale specifically. The grid of islands, inlets, and shallow banks south of Florida is its own kind of geography. It doesn't read like the open Pacific. It doesn't behave like any other coastline. That distinction matters. It will matter enormously. The 5 aircraft are assigned to a crew of 14 men, a mix of experienced sailors and student navigators still in training. Some of them have never completed a long overwater navigation drill. They are here to learn. Taylor is here to teach. And that was the first problem. Flight 19's planned route is a triangle, east from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, north over Grand Bahama Island, then southwest, back to base. Simple geometry. Hard to get wrong. Each plane carries a magnetic compass, an airspeed indicator, and a clock. Navigation by dead reckoning, calculating position using speed, heading, and elapsed time is standard procedure. No GPS, no radar contact along the route, just math and trust. The planes take off in sequence beginning at 2:10 p.m. Taylor's aircraft is FT-28. He leads the formation east over the Atlantic. For the first hour, everything is normal. Then Taylor looks down. At 3:40 p.m., Taylor contacts Fort Lauderdale Tower. His voice is measured, but something in the transmission stops the duty officer cold. "Calling Tower. This is an emergency. We seem to be off course. We cannot see land." The duty officer responds immediately. Taylor says he believes they are somewhere over the Florida Keys, southwest of Fort Lauderdale, well off the planned route. He is confused. His compasses are not behaving. He does not trust his instruments. The duty officer asks him to fly north. If Taylor is over the Keys, flying north will bring him back to the mainland in minutes. Taylor hesitates. He says he's not sure which way is north. A pilot with 2,500 flight hours on a clear December afternoon cannot find north. Nobody could explain it. Taylor continues flying east. He believes incorrectly that the formation is over the Gulf of Mexico, not the Atlantic. If that were true, flying east would take them back to Florida. But they are not over the Gulf. They are over the open Atlantic, northeast of the Bahamas, and flying east is taking them further out to sea. The error is compounding in real time. At Fort Lauderdale, Lieutenant Robert Cox, another instructor pilot, picks up Taylor's transmissions on his radio. He climbs into his own aircraft and tries to reach Flight 19 directly. Cox gets through. He tells Taylor to put the sun on his port wing and fly northwest. Taylor acknowledges, then continues flying east. At Fort Lauderdale, the operations duty officer initiates emergency protocols. Radio operators try to establish a fix on Taylor's position using signal triangulation. The equipment is cooperating only intermittently. Atmospheric interference is affecting communications across the region. A bearing is established at 4:46 p.m. Flight 19 is northeast of the Bahamas, approximately 200 miles from Florida. The information is transmitted to Taylor. He does not change course. The other pilots in the formation are now audible on shared frequencies. They are arguing with Taylor. One transmission, picked up at 5:15 p.m., captures another pilot saying, "If we would just fly west, we would get home." Taylor overrules him. They keep flying east. The Avenger carries enough fuel for approximately 5 to 6 hours of flight. The planes have been airborne for nearly 4 hours. At their current consumption rate, they have less than 90 minutes of fuel remaining, possibly less, depending on how much maneuvering they have done. The Navy dispatches a Dumbo flying boat, a consolidated PBM Mariner from Banana River Naval Air Station to locate and assist Flight 19. The PBM carries a crew of 13. It is a large, well-equipped rescue aircraft. It takes off at 7:27 p.m. Meanwhile, Taylor finally agrees to switch to the emergency radio frequency, the one that would allow ground stations to triangulate his position precisely. He switches over. Then, minutes later, he switches back. He is concerned the other pilots will lose contact with him if he stays on the emergency channel. That decision erases the last chance of a clean fix on his location. The final coherent transmission from Flight 19 is logged at 6:20 p.m. Taylor's voice is calm. He instructs his flight to close formation, and they will ditch together when the first plane runs out of fuel. The last partial transmission is recorded at 7:04 p.m. Broken, incomplete. Then nothing. At 7:50 p.m., the PBM Mariner rescue aircraft, the one dispatched to find Flight 19, disappears from radar contact. A merchant vessel in the area reports seeing a flash of flame over the water at approximately 7:50 p.m. Then nothing. 2 aircraft are now missing. A full search begins at dawn on December 6th. Over the following 5 days, 242 aircraft and 18 surface vessels sweep over 380,000 square kilometers of ocean. They find nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no life rafts, no bodies. 14 men and 5 aircraft gone without a single identifiable trace. The Navy's official investigation concludes in 1946. It attributes the disappearance of Flight 19 to causes or reasons unknown. Taylor is not formally blamed. The inquiry notes his confusion regarding position, but stops short of assigning fault, citing insufficient evidence. What the official report does not prominently feature is this: Taylor had requested not to fly that day. Before takeoff, he told the duty officer he didn't want to lead the exercise. The reason he gave was vague: "I'd rather not take this hop." The request was denied. He flew anyway. There is also this: the Navy's 1,945 investigation into the PBM Mariner rescue aircraft. The plane that disappeared at 7:50 p.m. concludes that it likely exploded in midair. PBM Mariners had a known fuel vapor problem. They were informally nicknamed flying gas tanks by the crews who flew them. The plane sent to rescue 14 missing men may have killed 13 more through a mechanical defect the Navy already knew about. That information does not make it into the public narrative of what happened on the 5th of December 1945. What does make it into the narrative in 1964 in a Argosy magazine article, and then amplified by Charles Berlitz's 1974 book, The Bermuda Triangle, is something else entirely. Berlitz and others add details that are not in the original Navy records: alien abduction theories, mysterious electromagnetic vortices. A reporter who claims that a Navy officer said the planes had flown off to Mars. That quote is fabricated. The officer never existed. Within a decade, one of the most thoroughly documented cases of navigational disorientation in aviation history had been repackaged as supernatural evidence. The actual story: a pilot who didn't want to fly, equipment limitations, a cascading series of correctable errors, and a rescue aircraft with a known defect disappeared inside the myth. The ocean didn't take Flight 19. The story did. The Bermuda Triangle is not a place on any nautical or aviation chart. It is a literary device, a frame placed over real events to make them legible as mystery rather than as failure. 14 men died on the 5th of December, 1945. So did 13 more when the rescue plane exploded. The Navy knew exactly how the PBM Mariner's fuel system worked. The flight instructor who asked not to fly was sent anyway. The triangulation equipment that could have located Flight 19 was used too late and then abandoned. These are the facts that were available in 1945. They were inconvenient, so they were set aside. What fills that void is always the same thing: the extraordinary explanation, offered in place of the ordinary one that asks harder questions about ordinary institutions. The ocean off Florida is not haunted. It is just where we put the stories we don't want to finish.